today is September, or it is August 5th, 2026. It's currently 12:06. Currently 12:06 in the afternoon. This is the beginning of the next stream. This is the beginning of the next stream, and thank you very much for joining in. So what is this? This is the purpose of preparation for academic training. So just essentially training in the skills that are necessary for acquiring more proficiency, acquiring skills and becoming proficient in the ability to think well, to understand, and to become a more insightful individual. Every single skill requires a particular set of tools, a particular set of structures, if you will, and that process enables you to perform well. So as an academic, as someone who is interested in the world of ideas, that takes the form of knowledge acquisition, the ability to categorize information, and finally the ability to recall. So the purpose of this stream right now is to go through that process and become more facile in the area of thinking. All right, so with that, the way that I am demonstrating that, or the way that I am attempting to grow in that area, is through the use of shorthand, Gregg Anniversary Shorthand, and it just develops. It's more flexible on the hand and easier to work with. So now, as I was saying, and then the book that I'm using as my source for Copywork is How to Take Smart Notes, and that's essentially training in the area of becoming more facile in the mind and being able to work appropriately. All right. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and continue. I'm currently on page 118. I'm on page 118 in page 118 of How to Take Smart Notes by Sonke Ahrens, and let's continue. But the reason why Watson and Crick or calculate, but the reason why Watson and Crick, why Watson and Crick, those are both proper names, so they get the lines underneath, or calculate, or calculate, had these insights and not a random person, had these insights and not a random person, and not a random, so this is ran and then dumb person, not a random person on the street, on the street. Let me confirm, see if that is street. Yes, STR. No need for the ending. STR on the street. Is that they had already spent a very long time. Is that they had already spent, I think SPN is SP, had already spent. Had already spent a very long time thinking. A very long time thinking hard about the problems. Hard about the problems. Comma, tinkered with other possible solutions. Tinkered with other possible solutions. And tried countless other ways of looking at the problem. And tried countless, what's count? I think that is this countless. Let's see if that's countless. Nope. There's countless. K, and then it curves up, and then it includes the L at the end. Countless other ways of looking at the problem. Other ways of looking at the problem. Tinkered with, and that's the period. Our fascination with these stories. Our fascination, and fascination is, fascination is there. Fascination with these stories clouds the fact that all good ideas clouds the fact clouds, check clouds. Okay, so there's no need for the D. Clouds, and then S on the end, clouds the fact that all good ideas need time. Lots of good things need time. That all good ideas need time. Period. Even sudden breakthroughs. Even sudden breakthroughs. Breakthrough. T through is going to be TRU and then S, breakthroughs. Even sudden breakthroughs are usually preceded. Let's check and see if that's breakthrough. Break, obviously that's break. And then through, I don't think, heartbreak. Breakthrough, TH, TRU. And then through. Yeah. That's breakthrough, okay? Are usually preceded by a long, intense process of preparation. Wow. Wow. What a sentence. Even sudden breakthroughs are usually preceded by a long, intense process of preparation. Huh. Okay. Are usually and then preceded. Preceded. How about precede? There's precede, and then preceded would be added to the end. Are usually preceded by a long, intense process, by a long, intense process of preparation. And that's prep, I think, is the same. Prepare and preparation are the same. Let me check process. Yep, that's process of preparation. And preparation, it does require the shun ending. Okay. Preparation. Period. And that's the end of that paragraph, so read back through. But the reason why Watson and Crick had these insights is the previous section. Go back to there. But the reason, and we need to drop paragraph marker. Need to drop a paragraph marker and then highlight it. Here we go. But the reason why Watson and Crick were or calculate, and I have to do that, underline it as well, or calculate had these insights and not a random person. Let me check random. Yep, random person on the streets, is that they had already spent a very long time thinking hard about the problems, tinkered with other possible solutions, and tried countless other ways, of looking at the problem. Our fascination with these stories, clouds the fact that all, wait, did I miss one? Yes, that all good ideas need time. Even sudden breakthroughs are usually preceded by a long, intense, a long, intense process of preparation. Being experienced with a problem, being experienced with a problem, and intimately familiar, there's intimately and intimately familiar, familiar? Does it add a familial? How do you do familiar? What's that? Okay, yeah, that's familiar. Familiar and being intimately familiar with the tools and devices, with the tools and devices. Oh, what is device? I wonder if that's a div. Might be device. Let's check. Yeah, that's device. Okay. The tools and devices. The tools and devices we work with. Ideally to the point of virtuosity. To the point of, and then virtuosity. This is virtue. Virtuosity. There's virtuosity. To the point of virtuosity, comma, is the precondition. Is the pre condition. Is that precondition? Yeah, is the precondition for discovering their inherent possibilities. For discovering their inherent possibilities. Their inherent, I'm guessing. Let's see if that's correct. Inherent. Yeah, okay, it curves back around, so there we go. Inherent. Oh, come on. There we go. Curves more. There. Yeah. Curves down a little bit more and then up. There, inherent. And then possibilities. Let's see, possibs. Is that possibility? Possibilities, yeah, and then you just add the E to the possibles to that, and then you have possibilities. Writes Ludwig Fleck. Writes, and then the name Ludwig. And this is Ludwig, because it's German. Ludwig, and then Fleck. Okay. Ludwig Fleck, a historian of science. Yeah, okay. and historian of science. There we go. Okay. What was this? Historian of science. That was Fleck 2012, page 126. Fleck 2012, page 126. This is true even for a purely theoretical work. Okay. This is true. Period. This is true even for purely theoretical work. This is true even for purely theoretical work. For purely, let's look up purely. Check it out. There we go. Even for purely theoretical work. Period. Here too we need experience. Here too we need experience until we can feel our way. Until we can feel our way. And that was in parentheses, or that was a quotation, until we can feel our way around the problems. And questions we deal with. And questions we deal with, comma, even if these things are words, concepts, and notes, even if these things are words, concepts, and notes. And notes in a file system. In a file system. What we learn in practice is always much more thorough. What we learn in practice is always much more thorough and complex than what we put into words. Than what we put into words. This is why even purely theoretical work. This is why even purely theoretical work cannot be reduced to explicit knowledge. Cannot be reduced to explicit knowledge. Explicit knowledge, comma, which is consciously available. Which is consciously, let's check consciously. Consciously, you just add an E to that, so we do have to have the SH, okay, which is consciously available. Add a page afterwards. This is going to be page 19. How HTTS in 112.1 through section 5, and this is page 19. Okay, come back up here, which is consciously available, which is consciously and then available, period. This is especially true for the use of the slip box. This is especially true for the slip box. It is the intuition that comes from the intimate knowledge. It is the intuition. What's intuition? Intuition that comes from the intimate knowledge, that comes from the intimate, intimate, isn't that, it's intimate, right? Or no, it has an in at the beginning. We do an in at the beginning, then that gives us this value, and then intimate. The intimate knowledge of a practice that can lead us to new insights. Of a practice that can lead us to new insights. Period. We might not be able to explicitly state. We might not be able to explicitly state why it is more promising, why it is more is this promising? Yes. Okay. Why it is more promising to follow. We might not be able to explicitly state why it is more promising to follow. Is that follow? One idea. Yes. To follow one idea instead of another. Instead of another, comma, but being experienced, comma, we somehow know, No. Hyphen, which is enough. Which is enough. Okay. And that's the end of that paragraph. So now let's go ahead and go back through and read it. See where that is. Where was the last paragraph marker? Being experienced. Check being experienced. Did I drop a paragraph marker? I did not. So I'm looking for 2012 Fleck. Okay, there it is. There's our paragraph marker. Start. Here we go. Being experienced with a problem and intimately familiar with the what? With the tools. With the tools. There we go. Tools and devices we work with, ideally to the usual, ideally what? Ideally to the point of virtuosity is the precondition for discovering their inherent possibilities, writes Ludwig Fleck, a historian of science. That was Fleck 2012, page 126. This is true even if purely theoretical work. This is true even for purely theoretical work. Here too, we need experience. We need experience until we can, quote, feel our way round the problems and questions we deal with, even if these things are words, concepts, and notes in a file system. What we learn in practice is always much more. What we learn in practice is much more thorough. It is much more thorough and complex than what we is much more complex than what we could put. So I need to go ahead and grab could put into than what we could put into words. Okay? This is why even purely theoretical work cannot be reduced to explicit knowledge, which is consciously available. This is explicitly true for the slip box. It is the intuition. It is the intuition that comes from intimate knowledge of a practice that can lead us to new insight. We might not be able to explicitly state why it is more promising to promising to follow one idea instead of another. But being experienced, we somehow know it is enough. Okay, next paragraph. Drop a paragraph marker, and we continue. Paragraph marker, begin. Okay. Experimental scientists regularly describe their decision-making process. Experimental. I have to check that one. Experimental. I think I know that one. Here we go. Experim, and then a disjointed L for mental, right? No, EXPR, and then the disjointed M. Experimental scientists experimental scientists regularly describe their decision-making process. Regularly describe their decision making process, and that's decision making, as being based on intuition, as being based on intuition. Reinberger, 1997. So this is Reinberger, 1997. Reinberger, 1997. And there is no reason why it should be different in the social sciences, comma. And there is no difference why it should be different in the social sciences. Go ahead, check that. In the sciences, in the social sciences. No different why it should be different in the social sciences. Maybe it is just harder to accept in the social sciences. Maybe it is just harder to accept in the social sciences, as we are trying so hard to be more like natural scientists, as we are trying so hard to be like natural. Let me check that, see if that is indeed natural. Nope. Natural needs the R and then the L. Like natural science, maybe it is just harder as we try so hard to be more like natural scientists. Scientists, comma, who seem to do something, who seem to do without something as vague as intuition, comma, who seem, and that's underlined, who seem to do something, to do something as vague as intuition, as vague as intuition. But intuition is not the opposition to rationality. But intuition is not the opposition. Opposition, so that's opposition. Check that. Nope, just a single. It's proposition. What is opposition? Yeah, there's opposition. Is not the opposition is not the opposition, okay, to rationality. And rationality, I believe it adds an L after that for rationality. Yep, that's rationality. Good, good. To rationality. Is not the opposition to rationality and knowledge. And knowledge, comma. It is rather the incorporated practical side. It is rather the incorporated, and incorporated is going to be incorpo, and there's incorporated. Okay, so let's go ahead and go. This is incorporated, but is rather the incorporated, comma, practical side, and practical, I believe. Yep. The incorporated practical side of our intellectual endeavors, of our intellectual endeavors. And endeavor is endeavor, right? Endeavors. Check that out again. Yes. Intellectual endeavors, comma, the sedimented experience on which we build our conscious. The sedimented, sedimented, let's check that out, sediment, and then that has the value below. So, the sedimented experience on which we build our conscious explicit knowledge. The sedimented experience on which we build our conscious explicit knowledge. Conscious explicit knowledge. And that one was Confiteur Ahrens. 2014. Okay. End of paragraph. Moving on. Nope. I'm going to go ahead and read through that. Okay. Read this. Experimental scientists regularly describe their decision-making process as being based on intuition, and that one was according to Reinberger, 1997, and there is no reason why it should, why it should be different. And there is no reason. Did I miss a whole line? Yeah. Wow, okay. And there is no reason why. There's no reason why it should be different in the social. Huh, hold on. How did I... Reinberger 1997. And there is no reason and there is no reason why. There we go. And there is no reason why it should be different. And there's no reason why it should be different in the social sciences. maybe it is just harder to ask. Maybe it is just harder to accept. Check accept. Okay, maybe it's just harder to accept in the social sciences as we are trying so hard to be trying so hard to be like natural scientists who seem to do something as who seem to do something without who seem to do without something as Veg, who seem to do without something, without um, without something as Veg, something as vague as intuition. But intuition is not. But intuition is not the opposition to rationality, and knowledge, It is rather the incorporated practical side of our intellectual endeavors and the sedimented experience on which we build our conscious explicit knowledge. And that was Sonke Ahrens 2014. Okay, moving on. Steve Johnson, who wrote an insightful book. This is our next section. Steve Johnson, or Stephen Johnson. Okay, so this is Stephen Johnson, John Johnson, comma, who wrote an insightful book, who wrote an insightful book about how people in science, an insightful book about how people in science and in general, about how people in science and in general come up with genuine new ideas, and how people in general come up with genuine new ideas. Come up with genuine new ideas. Genuine. See if that's correct. That is okay, so we just need the U hook. Okay. Come up with genuine new ideas, comma, calls it the slow hunch. Calls it the, quote, slow hunch. The slow hunch, unquote. As a precondition to make use of this intuition, so let me go ahead and see, I bet you hunch is not in the dictionary, but it is. All right, good. The slow hunch. As a precondition to make use of this intuition, and that was the end of the sentence, so as a precondition as a precondition to make use of this intuition, to make use of this intuition, comma, he emphasizes, he, and then emphasizes, let me check emphasize, emphasize, and then emphasizes, he emphasizes the importance of experimental spaces, the importance of experimental spaces, where ideas can freely mingle, where ideas can freely mingle, can freely, and freely probably curves back in on itself. Nope, it's the double curve. Can freely mingle. Let me check mingle. Mingle. There we go. So we go freely mingle. And that was Johnson 2011. So Johnson Johnson 2011. There we go. A laboratory with open-minded colleagues, and laboratory is going to be lab. It might just be lab. Yep, laboratory. A laboratory with open-minded colleagues, with open, I think that's open, right? It has to open. Yep, with open-minded. Colleagues, and colleague is going to be colleagues. Let's see if that's correct. Colleague, G-U-E? Nope, colleague. C-O-L-L-E-A-G-U-E. There's colleague. With open-minded colleagues. Can be such a space. Can be such, and such is such, correct? Nope, curves the other way. Can be such a space. comma, much as intellectuals and artists, much as intellectuals and artists, and does it require an ES or is it just S? Yeah, it does require an ES. Artists freely discussed ideas in the cafes of old Paris. Freely discussed ideas in the cafes of old Paris. Discussed ideas in the cafes in the cafe. Let's see what cafe is. Wow. It's cafeteria, but we can do cafe. So we're going to go in the cafe, cafes. Yeah, we'll add it to the list. We'll add it to the list. Cafes. All right. The cafes of Old Paris. Of Old Paris. Paris. Okay. Period. I would add the slip box as such a space. I would add the slip box as such, curve that a little bit more, such a space in which ideas can mingle freely. In which, such a space in which ideas can mingle freely. Can mingle freely. Comma, so they can give birth to new ones. So they can give birth to new ones. So they can give birth. I'm not sure if birth is that. It be birth is. I don't think it requires an E. I think it's just BR and then the TH. So let's go ahead and curve this here and then curve that up there. So that's birth. So they can give birth to new ones. To new ones. Okay, good. And that's the end of the paragraph. So now we go back through and we reread it. So let me highlight this marker here. Hopefully I remembered to mark the previous one. Go back, and I didn't, but it's there. So now we have that fixed. Let's begin. Here we go. Stephen, go ahead and mark his name. This is Stephen Johnson. And Johnson, that should be a little bit, let's go ahead and clean this up a little. Johnson does have to have Jonsn for Johnson, okay? Stephen Johnson, who wrote an insightful book about how people in science and in general come up with genuine new ideas, calls it the, quote, slow hunch. As a precondition to make use of this intuition, he he emphasizes. He emphasizes the importance of experimental experimental spaces where ideas can freely mingle. And that was Johnson. That was Johnson, 2011. A laboratory with open-minded colleagues can be such a space, as much as, right? Much as, no, it's just much as intellectuals and artists freely discussed ideas in the cafes of old, that was too much right there, in the cafes of old Paris. I would add the slipbox as such a space in which, make sure this is moved up a little higher so that it's differentiated from a T, in which ideas, here we go, in which ideas can mingle freely, so they can be, so they can give birth to new ones. All right, I need to check birth. Yes, it does require an E between the B and the R. Okay, birth to new ones. Okay, all right, moving on. Most often, innovation is not the result of a sudden movement of realization. Most often, innovation is not the result. So we go most often, and often is just the OF, I believe. Nope, that is OFN, okay? Most often, comma, innovation, and innovation, that's going to be vation. So we go innovation, like so. Let's go ahead and check and see if that is correct. Innovation, and we require an E at the beginning, so we'll grab that. Innovation, like so. Innovation is not the result of a sudden movement of realization. So innovation is not the result, is not the result, and resu, we know that one now, the result of a sudden moment of realization, is not the result of a sudden realization, and realization is what is realization? Realsion? Let's, I don't know that one, so let's go ahead and look it up. Realization. Okay, so we just add a S-A-S-H at the end, okay? So we go and we'll move the whole unit down a little bit. So we go realization, okay? Is not the result of a sudden moment of, and moment? Did I do moment? Innovation is not the result of a sudden moment of realization. So we have to do moment first, which is momo, right? Momo. Moment. Moment, okay, got that much right there, so we'll move this here, and we need moment of realization, okay, realization is not the sudden moment of realization, comma, no, anyway, after realization, anyway, so that's any way, comma, but incremental steps towards improvement. But incremental, so we have but incremental, I don't know this, incremental, not even a word, how about increment? Okay, there's increment, so incremental would just add to it, pretty much what I was doing. So let's go ahead and move this down though to the next line. This is incremental, so we go incre and then mental, like that. Incremental. Where's that? But incremental steps towards improvement. Steps towards improvement. And improvement is IMPR. Check that. Yep, there's improvement. Going on. Period. Even groundbreaking paradigm. Even breaking paradigm shifts, and shift is going to be groundbreaking paradigm shifts are most often the consequence, and then consequence. This is and then is it K underneath? Let's take a look at consequence. Consequence, consec. That's right. We did consec before. So let's go ahead and fix this up here. We move this here. Consequence. Okay. Are most often the consequence of many small moves in the right direction. The consequence of many small moves in the right direction. Need to add another page below this. Come on. There we go. Page 20. How to take smart notes. HTTS in page 12.1 through 5. And this is going to be page 20. Okay. Jump back up here. Many small paradigm shifts are most often many small moves in the right direction. Many small moves in the right direction. Yeah, direct, and then does it take, I don't think it takes a shun ending, I think it's just direct, right? Nope, I'm wrong, it does need to curve down, so it does the DRK, but then it adds a shun ending, okay? Direction. Many small moves in the right direction instead of one big idea. Instead of one big idea. This is why the search for small differences is key. This is why the search for small differences is key. Small differences is key. Comma, it is such an important skill to see the differences. It is such an important skill to see the differences between seemingly similar concepts. Between seemingly similar concepts. And let's do concepts. Okay. Similar concepts, comma, or connections, or connections between seemingly different ideas. So differences between seemingly similar concepts or connections between seemingly different concepts. And this is different ideas, okay? Period. This even used to be the meaning of the word. This even used to be the meaning of the word. Next page. New. And that gives a little bit of Latin meaning, okay? So the word new, as in something new. Period. Novus, this is the Latin word, novus, and it really should be hyphenated since it's a foreign word. So we go novus up here. Novus, underline it. Come on. There we go. Novus in Latin, and then Latin is Latin. Let's see if that's Latin. Yes, that is Latin, but the curve goes on the bottom side. So we'll put that here. There we go. Novus in Latin, comma, used to mean different or unusual. It used to mean, quote, different or different, unusual. So different, comma, unusual. Unusual. I believe that's unusual right there. Let's go check it. Unusual. USUAL, right? Unusual. Very nice. That is unusual. Comma. So is different. Unusual. Not so much genuinely new. Not so much genuinely new. And genuinely. Check and see if that's correct. Genuine. Yep, there's genuinely. Not so much genuinely new. And that was quotes, quote, genuinely new, unquote. In the meaning of unheard. In the meaning of unheard, and unheard should be that. Let's go ahead and check and see if that's correct. It does require the un, because otherwise it's nerd, and we don't want to be nerdy. So unheard is in the sense of unheard, and that was Lumen 2005, page 210. Unheard, and that, open up parentheses, that is Lumen 2005, page 210. Page 210. Okay? To have concrete notes in front of our eyes. To have concrete. And does concrete go on the other side or not? Let's see. Okay, that's correct. Good. Concrete. To have concrete notes. Let's see. To have concrete notes in front of our eyes, in front of our eyes, comma, no, and be able to compare them directly, and be able to compare them directly. I need to check compare. Nope. Compare is KPR. To compare them directly makes differences, even small ones, much easier to spot. Makes differences, even small ones, much easier to spot. Much easier to spot. Okay. This is an advantage of the original paper slip box, which is why I think the analog is probably better. This is an advantage. This is an advantage of the original paper slip box of the let's look up what original, no, oh, I know original. I know this one. Of the original paper slip box, as you can spread out multiple notes on a desk, as you can spread out multiple notes on a desk, multiple notes on a desk instead of just seeing them on a computer screen. Multiple notes on a desk instead of just seeing them on and then computer. We've done that one before. It's K compu, and then we're just doing pewter, right? So we go computer, like so. Let's go check that. Nope, that's right. We're doing compute, and then we just turn it into the worker version. So we go compute, and then underneath. Computer, okay? Instead of just seeing them on a computer and then screen, SKREN. Good. Computer screen, close parenthesis. And that was also the end of the sentence. The neurobiologist James Zoll, the neurobiologist, we know neuro, and then biologist, we need to check that one out. Old Canada Dry. It's good stuff. Good old ginger ale. Okay. Neuro and then biologist. So let's go ahead and check biologist. Who is... Okay, let's look up biologist here. Biologist. Okay, there's biology. And biologist... that was OST. So we need to add biologist to the list. I'm surprised it's not in there, but no problem. There's biologist. Yep. Good, good. But for right now, this is neurobiologist. So we go neuro, and then, boy, this is high up there. So we go neuro, bio, and then ogist. So ogist is then down here, like this, biologist. All right, neurobiologist, where was that? James Zoll, James Zool, Zool. So that's going to be Zool, yes. Points out that comparing is our natural form of perception. Interesting. Comparing. So James Zool points out that our natural form of perception, and then perception, perception, see if that's correct. Yep, not quite. There we go. Yep, that's perception. That our natural form of perception, where our cognitive interpretation, where our cognitive, and this is cognitive, so this is cognitive. That's right, this is cognitive. Let's check cognitive, where our cognitive, yes, and we're going to add an E to that, so our cognitive, oh, and that's actually, yeah, so we go cognitive, perception, where our cognitive interpretation is in lockstep with our actual eye movements. Is in lockstep with our actual eye. Is in lockstep with our actual eye movements. Movements. Is that correct? Movements. Huh. Have I done movement before? Movement is the same as moment? Wow. Okay. Movements. Our actual eye movements. Period. Therefore, comparing should be understood quite literally. Therefore, comma, comparing should be understood quite literally. Comparing should be understood quite literally. Quite literally. Literally. Oh, this is the one where we can go literally, correct? No, wait. Oh, I can't remember this one. Do we go literally? I think it's that. Let's check. Yep, that's it. Okay. All right. Quite literally. And that's the end of the paragraph. So now we're going to go ahead and go back through and reread it. Most often, innovation is not the result. So that's the part we need to work on here. Okay. Go back to the previous paragraph. Hopefully I remembered to mark we're looking for most often. There it is. And here we go. Most often innovation is not it is not the result of a sudden movement or of realization anyway, but incremental steps toward improvement. Even groundbreaking paradigm shifts are more often the consequence of many small movements, many small moves in the right direction instead of one big idea. Lots of small movements. Interesting. This is why the search for small differences, is key. Yes. It is such an important skill. To see the differences between seemingly similar concepts or connections between between ideas. Between seemingly, hold on, what did I just do? This is why? Where's this is why? Search, hold on. It is such an important skill to see the differences. It is such an important skill to see differences between seemingly similar concepts or connections between seemingly different ideas. Did I skip a whole line or something again? I think I did. Seemingly similar concepts or connections, so I have to add this here, or connections between seemingly different ideas, or connections, we'll do this up here, this is going to be between seemingly, here we go, this is going to be seemingly different. So we have to put this in here, okay? These seemingly different ideas. Okay. This even used to be the meaning of the word new, and then this is novus. In Latin, used to mean different, unusual, not so much genuinely new. In the meaning of unheard, and that was Lumen 2005, page 212. To have concrete notes in front of your eyes and be able to compare them directly makes differences, even small ones, much easier to spot. This is an advantage of the original paper slip box, as you can spread out multiple notes on a desk instead of just seeing them on a computer screen. The neurobiologist James Zuhl points out that our how did I miss cognitive interpretation is in lockstep. Did I skip a... Hold on. Wait a second. How did I jump a line or what? James Zuhl points out that our cognitive? I know I did cognitive. What is this? Net? Oh man, okay. Well, hold on, I'll be back. All right, so we're back at it. Let's go ahead and continue. Okay, so where were we? We were looking at, yeah, so for some reason, I don't know if I had missed a line, because I'm looking for, there's cognitive. So what had I done? That is natural. Where had I jumped? Because I got to natural. Natural form of perception. Oh, he points out that comparing is our natural form. Yeah, hold on. That comparing is our natural form of perception, where our cognitive, so did I just not do comparing? Yeah, that's what it looks like. Okay. I'd left comparing out, so let's go ahead and fix that. Where points out that comparing is our natural form of perception. So let's go ahead and grab, I need to rewrite this. Neurobiologist James Zoll points out that that comparing is our. So we'll fix that up here, get rid of this line. Points out that comparing is our, and then natural. So we have natural is our natural form of and then perception, where our cognitive interpretation is in lockstep with our actual eye movements. Therefore, comparing should be understood quite literally. Okay, there we go. That's the section. Now we'll continue. We even compare when we focus on one thing. Interesting. That's probably because the way our eyes work too. So this is a new line. Okay, go ahead and drop the highlighter and let's go ahead and continue. We even compare when we focus on one thing. We even compare when we focus, zoom out just a little bit, when we focus on one thing, when we focus on one thing. Colon, quote, paying attention, paying, and then attention, so this is attention, so quote, paying attention does not mean, so this is Zoll's quote here, paying attention does not mean unrelenting attention on one focal point. Paying attention does not mean unrelenting attention on one focal point. It does not mean unrelenting attention. Unrelenting. This is going to be unrelenting. Let's see if that's unrelenting. We don't have we don't have unrelent, but we do have unrelent. We have relent, and unrelenting would just be the in added to that. So that is correct. We probably don't need the u in because there's no relenting. So un is already built in. So if we go unrelenting like so, unrelenting. Okay. What was that? It does not mean unrelenting attention on one focal point. Unrelenting attention on one focal point. And focal should be that, right? No, it would curve up. So we go focal. Let's see if that's correct. Focal. Focal's not a word. F-O-K-L. Yeah, that makes sense. I think if we leave it open cool, like that, then that should work. So let's go ahead and add that to the dictionary. There's focal. One focal point. On one focal point, period. Our brains evolved to notice details. Our brains and then evolved to notice details by shifting focus from one area to another. Our brains evolved to notice details by shifting focus from one area to another. Details by shift. That'd be ship, which is already a word. Shift. Grief. Okay. By shifting. Let's see what shift is. Shift is a word that I had to add. Oh, because that's right, it comes from shiftless. By shifting one word by shifting focus from one area to another. By shifting focus from one area to and then another. Shifting focus from one area to another, comma, by repeatedly scanning the surroundings. And then repeatedly, I think that's repeated, and then do you add just a repeated or repeatedly? Repeatedly, so you have to do the E ending, so that is repeated. Let's go ahead and fix this up here. So we go repeatedly. There we go. By repeatedly scanning the surroundings. Scanning and then surroundings. So this is surroundings, like so. Oh, and I'm wrong. It's the SE, not SU. The surroundings, okay? And that was an ellipsis then. So period, and then the elision, 3 dots to show that it's been taken out. The brain is more likely to notice details. The brain is more likely to notice details when it scans, then when it focuses. That's interesting. When it scans, then when it focuses. Then when it focuses. And that was Zol, or Zul. We'll go Zul, 2002. 2002, page 142. 142, letter F, close parenthesis. Good. Close that there. This is one of the reasons why thinking works so much better. This is one of the reasons why thinking, move the line down here, why thinking works so much better when we have the very things, when we have the very things we think about in front of our eyes. We think about in front of our eyes, and that is period. It is in our nature. It is in our nature. All right. So that's that end of that paragraph, and that also finishes out the section 12.5, which means we get to have a new section here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and scan over the previous paragraph, read it once, and then we go into 12.6, okay? So let me zoom back up here, and there's we compare, we even compare. So let's grab this, save the page, save the document. Gotta love ginger ale. All right, here we go. Proceed. We even compare when we focus on one thing, and this is the quotation from Zuhl. Paying attention does not mean unrelenting attention on one focal point. And focal, was I going to add that? Make sure I'm going to add that. Yes. On one focal point. On one focal point, and that needs to be point right here. So let's go ahead and fix that. We'll do focal, and then point, period. Moving on. Our brains evolved to notice details by shifting focus from one area to another, by repeatedly scanning the surroundings and then the elision. The brain is more likely to notice details when it scans than when it focuses. And that was Zoll. Oh, okay. Oh, I dropped the then when it focuses, and that was the end of the quotation. And now I need to go ahead and make this is the parenthesis right here, and this was Zoll 2002, page 142, letter F. This is one of the reasons why thinking works so much better when we have the very things we think about in front of our eyes. It is in our nature. All right, very good. So that takes care of 12.5. Now we're going to go ahead and add 12.6. So let me go ahead and save this document. We're then going to export it. We're going to export as a PDF. We're going to put it in finished copywork, and this is 12. This is section 2, 12.12.1, 12 underscore 1 through 5 .pdf, and then we will do section 6 after this. So we export 12.1 through 5, export. Good. All right, so it's doing its export. Now the next section, it's 6. I think, is section 6 all one section? No, we have 7. Section 6 and 7, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages, okay? So let's go ahead and close this document down, and we're going to open a new one. We're going to open up with a columned note paper. Going to save it as how to take smart notes. How to take smart notes, and this is section, or this is 2 6 through 7, and this is page number 1. 6 to 7, and this is page number 1. All right, so that takes care of the first. Oh, and we need to save this under how to take smart notes, and this is 6 and 7. 6 underscore 7. Dot journal. Good. All right. About 49 minutes left, so let's just keep on plugging away. Here we go. Grab the page, and we start. Comparing, differentiating, and connecting notes. Oh, we have a quote here. This is from Andreasen. Creative people are better at recognizing relationships. Well, actually, we start first by titling the paper, which is 12.6. And this is think inside the box, kind of a play on words. Think inside the box. And he means by that the slip box, obviously. And then a new paragraph, and this is the quote, which starts off with, actually, let's move it down here. So we're going to have our quote, and this is, creative people are better at recognizing relationships. Here we go. Creative, and we go, creative people are better at recognizing relationships, and recognizing, so that's nope, that's not recognizing. Let's check out recognizing. There's recognize. So almost there. We need 2 here. Recognizing are better at recognizing, comma, making associations, making, and then associations, making associations and connections, and seeing things in an original way. And seeing things in an original, I think this is original by itself, right? And then origin has the in an original way. Hyphen, seeing things that others cannot see. Hyphen, seeing things that others cannot see. And that closes down the hyphen because, oh, wait, no, we're going to end the sentence. Close quotation, move the paragraph down here, or hyphen, and we have Andreasen 2014. Andreasen, so that's going to be on, oh, we could actually do Andre, and then maybe the S moving in the opposite direction. So we'll do, come on, there we go. Andreasen. Andreasen, 2014. 2014. Right? Good. New paragraph. We'll go ahead and read through this opening sentence one more time. Creative people are better. Creative people are better at recognizing relationships. Okay, completely forgot the word for relationships. Let's see how that are at recognizing relationships. So that's relationships. That's relation and then ships. No, it's just a disjointed S, right? For ships. Let's take a look. Yep, that is correct. So let's go ahead and clean it up though just a little bit. So we need relationships, okay? Are better at are recognizing relationships, comma, making associations and connections and seeing things in an original way and seeing things in an original way. Seeing things in an original way. Seeing, yep, and then it was seeing things that others cannot see. Very nice. Okay. So, moving forward. Moving forward. Okay. Done. Oi. Paragraph, here we go. Comparing, differentiating, and connecting notes are the basis of good academic writing. So here we go. Comparing, comma, differentiating, and differentiate is, I know it's differ, and then is it entiate or something like that? Let's go ahead and check. There, yeah, so it goes down, entiate, something, yeah. Okay, so let's go and fix that up. We have differentiate, nope, just curves all the way down. So we go differ, curves in, boom, boom, and then a dot through the center. So there, let's see, differentiating, Yes, differentiating and connecting notes. And connecting notes are the basis of good academic writing, are the basis of good academic writing. But playing and tinkering with ideas, but playing and tinkering with ideas, but playing and tinkering with ideas is what leads to insight and exceptional texts. Is what leads to insight and move the page down and exceptional text. So exceptional is what is exceptional? I don't know. Let's go ahead and look up exceptional. There's exceptional. Oh, okay, so we just use except, and then we add the L ending. So we go exceptional, is what leads to insight and exceptional texts. Texts, period. To be able to play with ideas, and this is the new paragraph, so that was a relatively short paragraph. Maybe he's come to his senses and doesn't have as long of paragraphs. Okay, let's go back up here. Boom, this is 2014. We begin here. Grab our marker. Comparing, differentiating, and connecting notes are the basis of good academic writing, but playing and tinkering with ideas is what leads to insight and exceptional texts. And let's go ahead and fix exceptional. So let's straighten this up. Boom. Exceptional texts. All right. Next paragraph. To be able to play with ideas. To be able to play with ideas. To be able to play with ideas, comma, we first have to liberate them. We first have to, and then liberate. So this is is it just lib? Nope, it has to be the whole thing. So we add the E and then the R and the A. So we can add that below. Liberate. Thank you. Liberate. We have to liberate them from their original contexts, and that's the idea of if you are doing your categorization, you have to strip it from its original context, put it into a form that makes sense to you, okay? You have to liberate them from their original context, liberate them from their original context, and is that plural? Nope, singular. By means of abstraction and respecification. By means of, and then abstraction, that's abstraction, I believe. No, it's not. I just don't remember what it's supposed to be. So let's go ahead and check it. Abstraction. There we go. That's exactly what it is. Beautiful. Okay. Abstraction. By means of abstraction and respecification. And then we have down below. So we have respecification. And we go specific, and then fication. which I have no idea how to add specification. Does you just go F and then shun? F shun? Let's go check. Specification. Okay. Oh, okay. It's just the F added below. So if we do respecification, then that's respecification. And that's fication, okay? Respecification. Period. We did this when we took literature notes. So we go, we did this when we took. Is that took? Let's see if that's took. When we took, yep, that is correct. Boom. When we took literature notes, and translated them into the different contexts, when we took literature notes and translated them into the different contexts within the slip box and translated them into the different contexts within the slip box. Contexts within the slip box. Okay, boom. And that's the end of that paragraph. So let's go ahead and read back over that, find our previous marker, which is there, and we read it. To be able to play with ideas, we first have to liberate them from the original context by means of abstraction and respecification. We did this when we took literature notes and translated them into the different contexts within the slip box. Okay? And then going on to our next section, we have abstraction does not have a good reputation at the moment. Here we go. Abstraction does not have a good reputation at the moment. And reputation is going to be reputation. So we go reputation. That's reputation. Let's go ahead and see if that's reputation. Reputation. Yep, that is reputation. Period. Does not have a good reputation at the moment. At the moment. Okay? There's moment, at the moment. Momo. Period. It is the tangible. It is the intangible. Tangible. Oi, tange. I don't know, tangible. Oh, it's one I had to do. So it's tin. Tingible. Tinge. So let's go ahead and move that up here. Tingible. It is the tangible, comma, the concrete that is cheered for. The concrete that is cheered for, period. Abstraction should indeed not be the final goal of thinking. I need to add a page below this. Here we go. How to take smart notes, page 2. How to take smart notes. section 12 point, this is 6, and then going through 7 eventually, and then this is page number 2. Going back up over here. Cheered 4. Let me check. Cheered. Okay, so cheered. Yep, that's cheered 4. Good. Abstraction should indeed not be the final goal of thinking. Here we go. Abstraction should indeed not be the final goal of thinking. Should indeed. That's not correct. Wait, is that indeed? Huh, let me check. No, indeed is indeed, the actual form. So we go indeed. There we go. Not be the final goal of thinking. Not be the final goal of thinking, comma, but it is a necessary in-between step, comma, but it is a necessary in-between step, in hyphen and then between step, to make heterogeneous ideas compatible. In between step, to make heterogeneous. I know we did this one before. Heterogeneous. I think it was heterogeneous. Was that correct? Let's see. Heterogeneous or heterogeneous. Yep, that's correct. Just doesn't need the one vowel. Doesn't need that one vowel, but other than that, it's good. So let's go ahead and fix it. Hetero, so we go heterogeneous. Idea is compatible. And then compatible, so that's compatible. Compat. What is compatible? You know, I don't know. I don't know what compatible is. Let's check it. There's compatible. Compatible. That's what you say at the petting zoo. Compatible. Nice. And that's period. Make heterogeneous ideas compatible. If Darwin had never abstracted from his concrete observations, so if Darwin and Darwin, what did we do for Darwin? What was Darwin? It was Darwin, right? Let's try that. Darwin. If Darwin had never abstracted, if Darwin had never abstracted, had never, and then abstracted, abstract. Abstract. Oh, yeah. I'm blanking on abstract. Here we go. Abstract. abstracted from his concrete observations of sparrows, from his concrete observations of sparrows and what is observation? It's obsertion, isn't it? It's kind of an interesting one. It goes observation, I think. Observation. Let's check that. Yep, observations. We had an S to the end, okay. Observations. If he had never abstracted from his concrete observations of sparrows, of sparrows, comma, he would never have found an abstract, comma, he would never have found an abstract. He would have never been able to see, no, he would have never found an abstract. He would have never found an abstract. There we go. That was abstract. An abstract, comma. A general principle of evolution. General principle. I think that's principle, right? No, prin. Prin is principle. Yep, that's principle. That one is preparation, so principle. Let's do that again. A general principle of evolution across different species. Of evolution. So this is going to be evolution, like so. Let's go ahead and check and see if that is correctamundo. Evolution. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, a little sharper turn right there on the end. No need for the lu. So we have evolution, like that, across different species. And across AKRS, across different and species. Is that a double S then on species? Let's go ahead and check. Species. Oh, okay, so they're wanting to go with the SH sound. So we go SPE, SHES. Okay, so let's go fix that up right there. Here we go. So we have species, okay? Different species. Comma, and he would never have been able, comma, and he never would have been able to see how evolution works, to see how evolution works across, or works in other species as well. Works or doesn't work, depends on how you look at it. Evolution works or doesn't work in other species as well. In other species as well. Okay? Period. Abstraction is also not for theoretical academic processes of insight only. So here's our next sentence. We go abstraction. Abstraction. Oh, undo. Let's move down the, oh, we need to, did we run out of space? No, we've got another line. So we have abstraction. Abstraction is also not for theoretical / academic. Is also also not for theoretical, is also not for theoretical. So we go theoretical slash or hyphenated academic processes. Academic processes of insight only. Of insight only. Only. Period. We need, zoom down, we need to abstract from concrete situations every day. We need to abstract from concrete situations every day. And situations, there we go. Situations every day. Every day. Period. Only by abstraction and respecification. Only by abstraction. Only by abstraction and specification can we apply ideas in the singular. Respecification can we apply ideas in the singular. Ideas in the singular and always different situations in reality. And always different situations in reality. And that was Lowenstein 2010. Lowenstein, Lowen and Steen, S-T-N-E, I'm guessing. Lowenstein, Lowen? Lowenstein. Okay. Something like that. I mean, sooner or later you just gotta go with it. So S-T Lowenstein. Let's go with that. All right. It's a name. Come on. It's just a name. 2010. There we go. All right, so that's the end of that paragraph, and now we're going to go ahead and read back over it. So we grab a little hyphen, drop that in there, and so now it's marked, and we go back to our previous paragraph, which is starting with abstraction, which should be, abstraction does not, so we're looking, where's my good friend abstraction? Hello, abstraction, where are you? Abstraction, I'm waiting. Abstraction, hello. Abstraction. Because this one is to be able, so abstraction must be down here somewhere. There it is. Good. So let me go ahead and grab the paragraph marker there and and then color it, and let me begin. Alrighty, here we go. Let's grab our marker. Here we go. Abstraction should, does not. Abstraction. Wait. Wait a second. Should not. Wait, oh, does not. There it is. Oh, I jumped a line. There's the abstraction. This is the abstraction I'm looking for. All right, here we go. Abstraction does not have a good reputation at the moment. At the, oh, come on. Oh, am I frozen? I must be. There we go. Let's clean this up. It does not have a good reputation at the moment. It is the, whatever that word is, it is the tangible. It is the tangible, the concrete that is cheered for. Abstraction should indeed not be the final goal of thinking, but it is a necessary in-between, is an in-between step to make heterogeneous ideas compatible. If Darwin had not given the awards, if Darwin had never abstracted from his concrete observations of sparrows, then maybe we would not have the monkeys writing Shakespeare with the typewriters. Observations of sparrows, he would never have found he would have never found an abstract, a general principle of evolution across different species, and he never would have been able to see how evolution works or does not work in other species. As well. It's the end of the sentence. Abstraction is also not for theoretical / academic work, academic processes of insight only. We need to abstract from concrete situations every day. Only by abstraction and re-specification can we apply ideas in the singular and always different situations in reality. Is that reality? That is not reality, because I think reality is something a little different. Yeah, that's right. Reality requires an R-E. Clean that up there. Put this up here. We're going to do and then reality below it. Good. Boom. And that was Lowenstein, 2010. All right. Moving down. Here's our next one. Even very personal, intimate experiences. Here we go. Even very personal. What's personal? Personal? Is it that? I think it's that. Oh. There we go. What is personal? Oh, person and personal. That's right. They're the same thing. They are the same thing. Personal. Even very personal, intimate experiences. Even very personal, comma, intimate. Intimate experiences experiences, comma, like encounters with art, like encounters with art, comma, require abstraction. Require abstraction. Abstraction. Period. If the story of Romeo and Juliet, Romeo and Juliet, that's Juliet, touches us, and this is touches us, comma, it is certainly not because we are all members. It is certainly not. Let's scroll down. It is certainly not because we are all members of one. Because we are all members, mem, and then br, I think. We just do that up top, so we go members of one or two feuding families in Verona, of one or two feuding families in, let's straighten this up a little bit, families in Verona. There we go. Period. We abstract from time and place. We abstract from time and place Scroll down. We abstract from time and place, comma, from the particular circumstances. From the particular circumstances. What is circumstance? It's the circum, right? So we're going to use S turned away, and then stances, STN, S. Let's see. Circumstance. Yes, and circumstances, so we then curve it back in on itself. So we're going to do that. We have, oh, and the S does curve away from the line of writing. So we go circumstances. 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 Yeah, good enough. We abstract from time and place from the particular circumstances until we can meet the protagonists. Until we can meet the, and then protagonist. This is protagonist. Let's see if that's correct. There's protagonist. So we do have to have the pro, and then it goes up to tag, and then ness. Protagonist for protagonist. Let's go ahead and fix that. So we go protagonist. Okay. Until we meet the protagonists of this story. And protagonists, so we have to add an extra S curving down, of this story on a general level. Of this story on a general move this down here on a general level. So we're going to go level. All right, on a general level, where our own emotional life can resonate, where our own emotional life and emotional is going to be emotional. Motion. Let's see. Have I done emotion? Emotional. Emotional. Okay. Let's go ahead and check that. That is emotional. Good. Okay. Let's go ahead and fix it up here. So this is emotional. Emotional. Where our own emotional life. Go ahead and fix own. It's starting. It looks like an R. Our own emotional life can resonate. We'll have life here. Life can resonate. So we have resonate. See if that is correct. Resonate's not there? Really? Are you serious? Resonate's not there. Okay. All right. I know I'm adding it. We're adding resonate. Resonate. There we go. Resonate. All right. Good, good, good. What are we doing here? Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Where our own emotional life can resonate with what we see on stage. Resonate with what we see with what we see on stage. STG. With what we see on stage. Grab the line. Oh, no, so stage does require STAG. STAG. So we're going to add that. STAG. Like so. All right? With what we see on stage, period. The tendency to juxtapose abstraction. There we go. The tendency, and this is tendency. I think that's tendency. Yep. Tendency to juxtapose to, now jux is juxtapose. Ooh, I don't know if I've done, I've done juxtapose before, but it's been a while. Juxtapose. Oh, juxtapose is not a, it's not one of the words, so it's juxtapo. All right, so let's go ahead and add that. We have juxtapose, like that. And I'm going to go ahead and add that to the dictionary as well. Juxtapose. There we go. Juxtapose. We will add it to the dictionary. Juxtapose. And juxtaposition, so juxtapose would probably need an S. All right. Where's that? Juxtapose abstraction with being worldly. Juxtapose abstraction with being worldly. Or associate it with intellectualism. Or, and then associate, or associate, associate, right? Associate or associate. Okay, it takes two of them. Or associate, spelled the same, right? Yeah, it is. Wow. All right. Or associate, it with intellectualism. Associate it with intellectualism. Intellectualism. And then is ism just added below that. So if you go intellectual, that's intellectually. So then ism is just added below, I think. So we'll do intellectualism, like so. All right, and we'll add that to the lineup as well. And being solution-oriented and being solution-oriented. Solution, so let's go check. Solution, good, solution, and then oriented. Oriented, good. And we just add an, looks like we just added T on the end. Oh, where'd my, there it is. Oriented. And maybe just come up a little higher for oriented. Solution-oriented is very misleading indeed. And with that, we're done. So let me go ahead and close up. Solution-oriented is very misleading indeed. Is very, and then misleading. Misleading. Indeed. All right. And with that, we are done. We are done for now. So that was 6 hours on the shorthand. We got through what? Almost half a page here, and almost, we're getting better. I think we're almost, that was 3 pages. That was 3 pages right there, if you look at it lining up. So let me go ahead and read over this section, and then we are done for right now. And then we'll just move on, and I've got some orientations to complete for my classwork, my coursework, and we'll just plug along. Even very personal, intimate experiences like encounters with art require abstraction. If the story of Romeo and Juliet, which touches us, it is certainly not because we are because we are all members of one or two families, one or two feuding families. I need to check members, by the way. Member, yep, that's member. One or two members of one or two feuding families in Verona. We abstract from time and place, from the particular circumstances until we can meet the protagonists of this story on a general level, where our own emotional life can resonate with what we see on stage. The tendency to juxtapose abstraction with being worldly, or associate it with intellectualism, and being solution oriented, is very misleading indeed. All right, thank you so much for joining in. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and we just keep plugging along. We keep being disciplined, and we respect the path. We respect the journey. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you all. Like I said before, this book really is something that I'm going to take into my work, in my work in academia, as it's a wake up call. I see myself. I personally, seeing this book, I've been very lazy when it comes to note taking, when it comes to idea formation. I have been that individual who just sort of bounces around and never actually did the work that I mentioned at the beginning, which is what an academic is there for. It's a hunter. An academic is there to hunt ideas, to bring them back, and to make them useful for people. So we're all on the journey together, so thank you so much, and I'm wishing you all a wonderful day. I will see you tomorrow, so take care, and God bless you all. Bye-bye.